Hey everybody, and welcome to Aimee Music. Today we're talking about bridges, the B section of a song. All songs have a form, at least they should. And the B section, or the bridge, is the part of the song that is different from the rest of the song. It's the part that should take you on a journey away from what was familiar to uncharted territory and lead you back to what was familiar. The great composers were masters of this, and I've learned so much from them. Great composers like Duke Ellington, Billy Strayhorn, Jimmy Van Heusen, Harold Arlen, Irving Berlin, and so many more. And today, we're going to dive into these bridges. I'm going to show you the possibilities. And these are only some of the possibilities. I like to believe that all of the possibilities have not been realized yet, but I'm going to show you a crap ton of them. My main focus in talking about bridges today is to talk about where we've been and where we land on the bridge. So I'll talk a lot about how we're going to get from this place to that place, or why it works to get from this place to that place. And I'll talk somewhat about how we're going to get out of the new place and back into the old place, how we're going to continue the song once the bridge ends. And oftentimes that means like having to kind of back yourself out of this hole you've dug for yourself. Let's dive in and start talking about the bridges that move from 1 to 4. I feel like it might be the most common bridge. We learned this 1 to 4 kind of sound in early rock and roll music all over the place, but I'm not going to refer to popular music so much. I'm going to talk about jazz standards today. So the first one I'll talk about is one that we've likely learned from our childhood, If I Only Had a Brain. All right, now this song goes, it turns that tonic chord into a 5 chord because we're going to go to the 4. It's a very strong way to start a bridge. So, right? If I only had a brain. And here we go. Whole new journey. All right. So all we do is go to 4, we raise it, we come back to the 1 with the 5 on the bottom. Minor 6, 2, 5, 1. So it's almost like, why did we even go to 4? Well, I mean, it took us somewhere, right? It took us somewhere, brought us right back. But we want to go somewhere else too. So what Harold Arlen does is he goes to the 2, or the half diminished 2 of the relative minor. So E half diminished to A7, and then we cadence for a second in that minor 6 chord, D minor, or the relative minor of F. Now, the cool thing is that once you've done this, you can take this that seems like it's the new 1 and make it the new 2. We go to G7. So all of a sudden it's like D minor was the 2 of C, right? Now we're on the 5 of C, but not for long. We're going to turn this 5 that we think we're going to C, but we're not. We're just going to make it a new 2. G minor that leads us right back to F. It's beautiful. It's not just simple songs that move from 1 to 4. Some of the most beautiful jazz standards I can think of move from 1 to 4 when starting the B section, like Solitude by Duke Ellington. In my solitude, you haunt me with reveries that never die. Here, instead of just going to the 4 chord, which would be A flat, we're going to 2-5 to it. Right? Instead of like the other one that just went 5, we actually did a 2-5. La-diddle-dee-do. Same thing here, just like If I Only Had a Brain. Do-diddle-dee-do. Same again. Do-diddle-dee-do. Do-diddle-do. We're just going to do it again. We 2-5 back to the 4. Do-diddle-dee-do. Do-diddle-dee-do. Now we're pretty much doing a 1-6-2-5. La la da 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 da. So that's another way to start that journey and then decide to just do it twice, pretty much. It takes you back in an easier way. Check out the way that Antonio Carlos Jobim did it on Meditation. You know this one? It's so beautiful. It looks like we're going right back to 1 for the bridge, doesn't it? But it doesn't. It just goes down to the 4. So it's really tricky, but it works. Right? You could go right to the F. To F minor 6. And then all we have to do is basically a 3-6-2-5-1 to get back, except we're going to go 3, flat 3 diminished, 2, and then we're right back. That's a really cool way to do it too. Alan Lerner did it in a very lighthearted way, mostly just kind of to move us down the street as this, very lively song from a stage musical moves you through the neighborhood, I think. Get Me to the Church on Time. From My Fair Lady, right? I'm getting married in the morning. Ding dong, the bells are gonna chime. Ooh, this one's so cool. Sharp 9. And then all we do is just go straight to the 4. There's no real preparation. We just hop right to it. C. Right back to 1. Now here's, maybe the most textbook way to get back. We go to this 5 of 5 chord. A7 is the 5 of D. So it's almost like a 2-5, but it's just a little, it's a little more old-fashioned, a little campier to do this dominant chord. It goes to the real dominant chord, and then we're right back. So all you have to do, if you want to take your bridge to the 4, just kind of let your ears do the work. You can go minor here like we did, on one of these we could go, right? We could do that kind of thing. We could do the same thing that we did if I only had a brain. Right? You can use these choices that all of these composers made after they got to the 4 to finish your bridge and get you back to the 1. Many, many ways to do it. These are just a few. Another very common device in starting a bridge is to say, all right, we've been in such and such a key. I'd like to move us to another key now. The way that I'm going to do it is with a 2-5-1. Happens all the time. Misty by Errol Garner, case in point. All right, so we've cadenced, we're in the tonic, we're in E flat major in this case. The melody is going to be what takes us to the new key. This note that moves us to a B flat minor 7, which is the 2 of the 4, right? So we were in E flat, now we've moved to the 4, just like we were doing with those other songs, but we actually use the bridge as the place to put the 2 to lead us to the 4. So instead of hopping straight there, now we've got a vehicle that takes us there. It just takes a little longer, basically. Again, the melody leads the way here. We're going to just come up. And now we've got a 2-5 in G major, right? But we're not going to G major. It seems like we're going to, but really we're going to 3-6-2-5, which is probably the most common way to get us back, right? G minor, C7. There's the 3, there's the 6, here's the 2. And if you don't know what that means, so here's our key, right? If I just come up to the 3rd degree and I play a minor chord, then I come up to the 6th degree and I play a dominant chord. So we've got G minor to C7. Now I go to the 2 and I play a minor chord. Then I go to the 5 and I play a dominant chord. That's that movement. It's the best way, really, to just take you right back to where you want to be. Maybe not the best way, but the most classic way for sure. Let's look at Satin Doll. That's a nice little trick that Ellington used. Now, we're going to hop to the 4 again. The same exact thing happens. We're going to do it with a 2-5. Right, just to the 4. Now we've gone to a 2-5 in G major, but we're going to take that 5 of G major, turn it into the 2 of C major. It's almost just math, but it really works with the melody. And let's check out this 2-5-1 that starts the bridge on Irving Berlin's Puttin' on the Ritz by Irving Berlin. Right. F minor, very strong F minor. We just go from F minor to C7 right back. Now we're going to hop to a 2 that takes us to a 5 that takes us to the relative major. Right, now we've got A flat major. We were in F minor. It's pretty darn easy to go right back to F minor because we have these notes right here. All we have to do to get to the 5 of F minor is just raise this one. Isn't that nice voice leading? So the relative major of F minor is just one step away, or 1/2 step away in one of the notes to taking you right back to F minor. It's really clever. Sometimes, if you're in a major key, say C major, you can decide to just move that major to minor and make your bridge be in C minor. It's called the parallel minor. You can do the same thing if you've started in a minor key. You could just move your bridge to the major key with the same root name. Cole Porter was a big fan of that. So it's like if we were in C minor and we went to C major. Let's look at that on I Love Paris. F minor. We're so F minor. All of a sudden, we're just going to change it to F major. No warning, no 2-5, no nothing. What are we going to do now? We're just going to stay in F until it's time to go back, right? This is very playful, just moving back and forth from major to minor, much like that song, right? How strange the change. Cole Porter, my gosh, he's a playful little guy. Just because you have a bridge, a B section, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to move to a different tonal center. Billie Holiday proved it when she wrote the beautiful ballad, Don't Explain. Let's check it out. Such a beautiful, haunting, sad ballad. Go to the second ending. We're going to go right where we were. There's no change. We changed there. I mean, we've gone from D minor to F major, but the bridge starts right on D minor, which is where the song started, right? Hush now, don't explain. And then when the bridge starts, right? You know that I love you. Now we've gone to a key though, right around the circle, the B flat. Let's do it again. So gorgeous. Anyway, you don't really have to move if you don't want to, and Billie Holiday proves it, doesn't she? Or at least, you know, the song starts in a minor key, then we're going to use that. Takes us right to that relative major. Goes away from it. Comes back to it. Side steps to get us back to the D minor. And then you think we're just going to come right back to the A section, you know, hush now or whatever, but it does it again. One of the most beautiful jazz standards I know. Also, I want to say that you don't have to start your B section on a major chord or a minor chord. You could definitely start on a dominant seventh chord if you want to, although it's not very common. Harold Arlen did it on Ill Wind. I mean, he does enough moving here in the A section. Harold Arlen goes straight to an A7 that stays there. So it's like from F to, I mean, the 5 of the relative minor, right? It should really go to D minor. That's not going to happen, but we're just going to stay on A7 pretty much until we go to D7. Back to it. D7. So we've never really gone to a key. We've just kind of been in A7 and then in D7, and D7 is going to take us to the 2 of F. And I like how he tricks us. It's like he's going to go to minor because he did a half diminished chord on the G minor, right? But he doesn't. It's major. Such a pretty tune. Now, the reason I set out to make this video is because sometimes the bridge goes to such a surprising place. You start out in one key, and then your bridge is in a totally new realm. And that's kind of what I wanted to explore mostly today, is how you get from one place to a very unexpected new place, and like I said earlier, back to where you were or where you need to be to finish the song. Let's start by songs that start on the 1 and move to the sharp 1 for the bridge. There are 2 very, very popular jazz standards that do this. One is Girl from Ipanema by Jobim. This is one of the best ones I know of. It's probably the one you all thought of. Right, Girl from Ipanema. We just move. We move right up half step. How about it? So we were just here, right? We're just F major, and all we're going to do is just raise it. We raise everything. We put a major 7th in the melody, and it works because it just lifts us. It's a little bit hard to get back. We're going to turn this new 1 into the minor. So clever, right? But where are we right here with this D9? Well, it's the 5 of G minor, which is going to be the thing that takes us back eventually, because it's the 2 of F. Now, you would think he would just go to C7 here to get us back, but he takes us on another little journey. Isn't that cool? Every time we've done this, when we get to the dominant chord, our melody note is the 9, and we do it again. Melody is the 9 on this dominant chord, right? All we have to do is just use math to do it again. Well, I think he just kind of says to himself, if this is going to be the 9, it's going to have to be E flat 7. Now all we have to do is a 3-6-2-5. I mean, but he does it so cleverly and sneakily. Joe Beam, what a master. Another song that does this is Body and Soul by Johnny Green. Body and solo. All right, now we're in D flat. We're not just gonna hop to D. It's not the way that Johnny Green gets us there. He decides to just do a 2-5. And it's seemingly out of nowhere. I kind of think it is, you know. He does use the E in the melody, which is kind of a clue. I mean, it's also just a blue note. Da ba da 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 da. But it also kind of prepares us to come right back there. I don't know, I'm making a case for that E being a little preparatory. This is all very D major. Looks like F, looks like we're going to F. But we don't, we just stay in D. But we're gonna change the D to a D minor. Looks like we're going to C, but we do a E minor to E half diminished. Still looks like we're going to C, right? And part of me kind of thinks that maybe he just got to C here and said, how are we gonna get back to D flat, because it's a hard sell. I mean, maybe something in him said, if we just lower it to, now we're right back to that E flat minor that starts out the tune. I don't know if it's a case where math made the decision or logic made the decision, but it also works beautifully, right? It's one of the most beautiful ballads we have. So whether or not he actually had in mind for the melody to be the thing that da da da, you know, go down, or he just needed it logistically to get us back, I don't really care. I've done that before. Like, sometimes you just need to get back, so you use the device that's going to take you there. I think this might be one of those cases. Listen to how it sounds if you go from 1 to the minor 3, like Irving Berlin did on I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm. If we're in the key of E flat, like we're going to be with this next Irving Berlin tune, I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm, we're in E flat. Such a cool melody. I've got my love to keep me warm. Right, here we are. Now, we're going to do a 2-5 to get us to a new place. Now, we're going to take a couple of these notes that are in E flat 6, and we're just going to change the bass note. So we've already got these notes in E flat 6 that have just cadenced very nicely for us. But all we're going to do is keep them, add a new 2. So it's A half diminished that's going to lead us to D7, and all of a sudden, we're in a brand new place. We're in a new minor key. It's the 3 minor as it relates to E flat major, right? It's the G minor. Off with my overcoat, and we're in a new realm. How are we going to get back? We stay right there. Now all we have to do, because we've gotten ourselves to C7, is to come right back. We pretend like we're in an F minor for a second. And then we're right back. Great little device. All right, that was the minor 3, but what if we go from 1 to the major 3? This is one of the coolest ones I know. Polka Dots and Moonbeams, Jimmy Van Heusen. Isn't that beautiful? F major. We're going to 2-5 and take us to a new place. A place that we haven't covered yet, right? The major 3. Seems like we're going to go to A minor until the melody tells us. It gives us a clue that we're going to go to A major. We stay in A major. And I think it's so beautiful too because A major is so vastly different from F major, which is where we started. And I think he just stays there. It's so bright. Now, we've got this logistical problem again. How the heck are we going to get back from A major to F major? He treats it as a 5. And we're going to come to what it's the 5 of, D7. And now, that's all we had to do. We just had to treat the A, not as major, but as dominant. It leads us to D7, and that's the 5 of 2. Now we've got a 2-5. Such a beautiful bridge. Jobim, he shows up a lot. It's because he's very good at it. Listen to how he does it in desafinado. This is kind of like what we did in, where was it? If I Only Had a Brain, we've gone to the relative minor of F to D minor. But instead of like using this as a minor chord and going to a G7 or something, all we do, we kind of take 3 of the notes that were in D minor and we're going to change the bass note. We've already done this kind of thing before too, right? To a B. Now we've got a half diminished chord, which sounds like it's going to take us to A minor, but it doesn't. And he does the same thing that Jimmy Van Heusen did, which is to stay here for a while, right? Then he's just going to hop up. Woo! Maybe it's because C is much easier to get you to F, right? Oops. And we're back. That's a little math too, you know. That's so nice. This is the first time Jerome Kern has shown up today. He was a master. And he did this kind of movement from 1 to the major 3 on a jazz standard that I love. Very complicated jazz standard called The Song Is You. I hear music when I look at you. We're in the key of C major. A beautiful rhapsody of love I never knew. I forget the words. Down deep in my heart. Here's the second A. I hear it say, is this the day? We're doing the same kind of thing. We're taking some notes from C major 6, right? We've already done this. We're just changing the root in order to get us to the new place. But we think it's going to be 3 minor, like it was when we did I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm. But it's major. Da 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 da. I like how all 3 of these songs have just hung around on this major 3 once we get to it. This is really far from C, isn't it? We get to D flat 7 or C sharp 7. Wow, now we're just completely away from C. We're gonna go to B7. And look at that. Even though logically it doesn't make a ton of sense, we're just a half step away from C major. How can I let you know the song my heart would sing? So isn't that cool? He ends up with the bridge right there and he just moves it right back to where we came from, C major. It's so clever. Order, I haven't talked about him yet. Let's talk about Night and Day. It moves from the 1 to the major 5. Night and Day is in the key of C major, but we're going to start on an A flat. Melody is a G note. Right, so it's this dance that we do from flat 6 to major 1. There's such a beautiful relationship between those 2 places. Then when we go, here we go. I say that we're going from 1 to 5, like A flat to E flat, and we kind of are, but really we're just staying in C. We're just using another interesting relationship, like we were A flat to C, right? Now we're just going to use E flat to C, both, right? E flat to C, A flat to C. It's so nice. We've got C right at the top of the circle of fifths, B flat, E flat, and A flat. They're just both over here a few ticks away from C, and they share some common tones, right? Both of them share a G. Right back to that G. That's what we're doing on the bridge. And on the verse, we're going. So G is kind of the catalyst. It's this melody note that is in common no matter where we go. That's another really great way to do a bridge, is to figure out a nice common note that can be the center of your melody and take you to a new place. Jerome Kern. It's a very common jazz standard called The Way You Look Tonight. It starts in the key of F, moves to the key of A flat for the bridge. 1 to flat 3 major. Someday when I'm awfully low, da da dee da 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 dee do, bo da dee da da do do. He has an interlude, doesn't he? With each smile. So we've got this flat 3 major going on. We've come from F to A flat, and he did it with an interlude. We haven't seen that yet. Part of me just thinks he wanted to go to A flat. I can't really see any other real good reason for it. If you can, let me know about it. But we're going to hang out in A flat for a while. With each word your tenderness grows, tearing my fears apart. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish. All we have to do to get back now is to drop a half step from A flat major to G minor. Hard, and it's a beautiful 11. And then we're going to use that note. Oh, but you're lovely. That's kind of like night and day, isn't it? Using that note to take you from one place to the next. Using, that C to get you from the minor 3 back to the major 1, which is exactly what happened in parts of Night and Day. Jimmy Van Heusen is one of the best composers of the whole American Songbook, for sure. I just feel like he was really, really good at this bridge stuff. Let's check out the way that Darn That Dream moves from the major 1 to the major flat 6. We're going to use a 2-5. We're going to use the G as a common tone from G major to take us to the 9 of F minor. And then the G stays the common tone to start the bridge. Here we go. Right here, he's put us in the parallel minor. We're in G minor, and we want to go to G major, but it's not too hard. And instead of just going there, he's just going to sidestep this D7, like prolong it for a second. And we're right back. Such a beautiful tune. Another great one that goes from 1 to flat 6 is when we come around the second A in a sentimental mood. And he does it the same way. He's just going to use the F as a common tone to take us to the 2 to the 5 of this flat major 6. Hang out there. How are we going to get back? We've only got 2 bars to do it. Let's just do a 2-5, right? But it's so beautiful because that's the 11. Such a great tune. My gosh. Do you remember how we moved from 1 to sharp 1, or we could call it flat 2, I guess? The last little iteration I want to talk about is starting in the major 1 and then actually moving down a half step, putting your bridge in the 7th degree of the major scale in a major place. So from major 1 to major 7. Duke Ellington did it well. Let's check out Sophisticated Lady. A little hard to know what key we're in until here. Right, we're in A flat. Now, he's going to take a 2-5, just a half step above where we're at. We're going to go to A minor, to D7, and now we're in G. How about that? So we were in A flat, and now we're in G. It's the opposite of Girl from Ipanema, right? We're not coming up a half step, we're going down a half step. All right, now how are we going to do it? We don't have to get back to A flat, actually. We have to get back to where the song starts, which is on a B flat minor 7. How is G7 going to get us back to B flat minor 7? We don't use it to go to C major, let's use it to go to C minor. That gets us darn close to somewhere in the realm of B flat minor, because really all we'd have to do is just change the C minor to a C half diminished, and that's the 2 of B flat minor. So it's almost what we're going to do. We're going to use the melody. Now, E flat 7 is really close to C half diminished, isn't it? They're like brothers or something. We were in C minor, restaurant, and then is that all you? And then here we go, 2-5 to get us back. And we're back. So beautiful. In order to really be able to understand harmony in the kind of ways that we're talking about today, you have to have a firm handle on the way that it works, and that starts with chords. I have a new class on the Nebula platform where I teach all about chords, the way that they were taught to me, the way that they make sense to me. And I walk you through the very basics of being able to figure out any major chord in any key, any minor chord in any key, diminished, augmented, 7th. We just move through the different qualities of chords and talk about how to build them and what their functions are. There's part 1 and there's part 2. By the end of part 2, we're talking about Steely Dan, some of the most complicated harmony I know. You can use the code that you see right here on the screen to get these 2 classes, as well as my other class about how to create meaningful motifs for jazz improvisation, my class about the blues with Adam Neely, plus all of the content that I have on Nebula, hundreds of videos, all about music, popular music, jazz, tutorials, extended videos longer than the ones that I put on YouTube, and also bonus videos like my Surf's Up documentary about my very favorite Brian Wilson composition. You can get the entire platform, everything I've talked about, for just $30 for the entire year. It's a big discount, but only if you use my code. Nebula is a platform, much like Netflix, like YouTube, for educational content. All of the content on Nebula is by creators that you already know and love from YouTube. It's a great platform. You can run it from your Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire Stick, Android TV, pretty much anything you can think of, or you can just lay in bed and watch it on your phone. I really hope that this has been able to give you some ideas, especially you budding composers or seasoned composers out there. Maybe you've been stuck in a composition and now you have an idea about where to go, or at least how to start exploring the possibilities of where you can go to take your listener on a journey as they listen to your composition. Really diving in and learning from the songwriters of these old jazz standards is one of the best ways I know to study composition. So I was really happy to be able to do it with you all today. Thanks for being here with me, everybody. I'll see you next time on Aimee Play Music.